Beloved, I welcome you once again to today's sermon. Today I want us to look at the two shapes of priesthood that we have, or the two types of priesthood that we have. Listen carefully. When Moses met the Lord God on Mount Sinai, the Lord was persuading Moses to go and redeem his children for him in Egypt. Moses was unwilling to go. The Lord had to assure Moses that he would be successful in his journey. So he gave him a sign or a token that would suggest that he will be successful. The Lord told him that on that same mountain, Israel will come and worship him. Moses believed and went and was successful. So that it will not look like the Lord would let them. Moses knew the way. The Lord led them through the Red Sea and came out to Rephidim. Rephidim, we know that is only 3 to 4 miles away from Mount Sinai or Mount Horeb. So naturally, Moses will remember and Moses will walk towards that place. If the Lord has been able to redeem you from Egypt, pass you through the Red Sea, and you come out of Rephidim, it is just natural that you know that if the Lord say you worship him and you reach 3 miles away to that place, it is just natural that you know that the prophecy is fulfilled. Now let's look at this thing very well. When Moses went to Egypt, on the way coming, the Lord God promised Moses that he is going to adopt the first male born of every woman as his first fruit. Why? He said on the day that he killed the first male born of the Egyptians, on that same day he consecrated the Israelites or the Hebrews to himself, the first male born of the Hebrews to himself. So all the first male borns are his. Look at this thing very well. God was aware of what will happen on Mount Sinai when Israelites are redeemed, or the house of Israel is redeemed from Egypt. He was aware, so he gave the promise to Moses that this is what will happen. Now, before that will happen, on the way, he told Moses that he has adopted the first male borns as what? His. Exodus 13, verse 1. It is there. Can't read it from verse 1 to 4. You get it there. So the original, not the original, God had something in mind on Mount Sinai and proposing the same thing to what? The first male borns. Listen carefully. So let us assume we are Moses. If you are Moses or Israelite, you will not know exactly what will happen on Mount Sinai. But if you are Moses, on the way you will know that the Lord is going to what? Give priesthood to what? The first male borns. Now here is the case. All Israel managed to reach Mount Sinai or Mount Horeb. And the covenant proposal was also the same. God told Israel that they've seen what he has done to the Egyptians, how he carried them on eagle wings and brought them to himself. If they will indeed obey his voice and keep his covenant, they will be his special treasure above everyone on this earth here. Because all the earth is for him. They will be to him a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. In other words, God is saying that he's going to give to Israel his voice and his covenant for them to obey and keep it. If they do it, they will be priests. Holy priests to him. Collectively, they will be what? A holy nation. And he, God, as a reward, is going to adopt them as what? His special treasure above all people on this earth here. And this was a covenant proposal that Israel agreed to. So it was purely a priestly covenant that if you obey, you will be a priest to God. So now, what type of priesthood was the Lord going to give to the first male borns? Remember, the first male borns were also part of the group that received the covenant on Mount Sinai. The Levites were there, the first male borns were there. Every single one in the house of Israel was present on Mount Sinai. So what type of priesthood was he proposing to all Israel? And what type of priesthood was he proposing to what? The first male borns. Now let's look at the nature of this priesthood. The first male born's priesthood was not going to be based on obedience of what? His voice and covenant. It was purely a memorial. I have killed the first male borns of what? The Egyptians. So I have reserved the first male borns for myself. Purely for memorial. What we call ceremonial. Because ceremonial laws are for sign. So that priesthood is purely ceremonial priesthood. The basis is based on priesthood. It is not that the first male borns are going to be priests based on obedience to God's voice and his covenant. No. The fact that you are a first male born, you are adopted as a priest. That was the basis. So we can see two types of priesthood here. One priesthood is based on obedience of God's voice and keeping his covenant. Another priesthood is based on the fact that God killed the first male borns of the Egyptians and reserved this one for himself. So purely memorial priesthood. Now listen carefully. When Israel broke the worship laws by obeying the calf image, Moses got angry, which of course is natural. God too will be angry because you cannot worship idols and still go to God. So what Moses tried to do was to reconcile Israel back to God. And his attempt to reconcile Israel back to God, the 11 tribes of Israel, there are 12 tribes of Israel. 11 out of the 12 tribes said that they are not on God's side. They will continue worshiping idols. And all the first male born of women are in this group also. The first male born, there are women among the Levites, and there are women among what? The 11 tribes of the other 11 tribes of Israel. And because there are women in the other 11 tribes of Israel, surely these women will give birth to male borns. They will not give birth to only females. Now these male borns, including their sisters, fathers and mothers, brothers, say what? They are not on God's side. And God cannot force it on them. So God what? Stripped them of that honor and gave the priesthood to those who said they are on his side. And on his side here is worship. So what it means is that the Levites have two types of priesthood. Priesthood which is based on obedience, and priesthood which is based on adoption for the purpose of what? Memorial or ceremonial priesthood, depending on the term that you call it. So if all Israel is obeying God and keeping his covenant, they will all be priests. But there have been priests who have been adopted